Welcome to the Metal Butt Reviews channel. I'm your host, Tom McKay. Sirens Reign is a folk-ish metal band from Lakewood, Washington, though consulting their Facebook page also mentions not applicable Tacoma for anybody getting technical about their counties. The band consists of 5 members, all of which are playing various different instruments of choice, including traditional heavy metal instruments, such as the guitar, bass, vocals, and drums, but also bringing in traditional folk instruments, such as the harp, mandolin, and the nickel harp. Look, it's basically the result of a drunken three-way between an acoustic guitar, violin, and hurdy-gurdy, because being only one or two of them wouldn't be weird enough. Anyways, the band formed in 2014 by the bassist, William Baratich, and the main vocalist, Raina Helsinger. Since starting, they kidnapped 3 more people, gave them instruments that I'm pretty sure Luvate probably told them about, and then proceeded to take on the folk world with their first 2 EPs, Beneath the Narrows and Nightmares from the Abyss in 2016 and 2019. And now, this year in 2021, they are bringing forth their first full-length album, Rise Forth, an album that, quote, delves into the themes of abandonment, betrayal, hope, despair, and resilience. The promo also said that these guys will deliver heavy riffs, haunting vocals, and ethereal melodies using a vast array of folk instruments. Well, with that in mind, how is Rise Forth going to sound? No, seriously, how is it going to sound? Someone please tell me before I start to regret hitting play. Something at the pit of my stomach is making me have second thoughts here just looking at the album cover and the wording of that promo. Something is not adding up here. I'm sure it's nothing. With that said, let's not waste much more time and let's get straight into it.
The ashes of our old world, freshly departed, settle upon our lands like droplets of rain, straggling from the storm.
Listening to this makes me want to train a herd of alpacas to spit on my taint. Just seems like the natural response, you know? It's arguably the best way to clean up shit.
Yeah, for real, as a voiceover artist, I'm praying to the creator of the Nickel Harpa that this poor sod got paid well, cause he sure as shit didn't get in a fucking direction. Like, listen to that. It's so monotone and uninterested. It's like the reference voice he was given was the voice sample from Shining Force 3.
Now bear my Arctic blast.
And that's all this prologue is. It's 61 seconds of background sound effects and a voice that's as enthusiastic and interesting as a 4th grade presentation on how sunflowers post the dankest memes of the flower family. Wait, actually, I just realized something. The song is called Prologue. A prologue to what exactly? Because I checked the promo and scanned the press releases. There was no indication of a story or concept with this album. The only thing that is tying this whole thing together, as far as I know, is a quote listing intense emotions you can find on Wikipedia. We just started this review, and I've spent at least 53 seconds of this video talking about the shitty voice acting and the title of the opening track. In the voice of our narrator, let that be a sign of things to come. But okay, let's move on to Keepers. So the music starts officially 7 seconds in, making the official waste of album space 68 seconds, and pretty soon I start to notice some problems. First off, after establishing what the traditional folk instruments we'll be hearing on this album are, we get into the metal instrumentation of the album, and right now it's severely lacking. Like, really lacking. It feels kind of hollow and empty. It's almost like watching Squid Game, but with the English dub. It just doesn't work as well. There's no punch with this section. Also, one thing I'm noticing that might become a problem, but also might not as well, the guitars are dirty. Like, really dirty. Almost like they were set up for a Byzantine neckbeard album rather than for something that was inspired by bands that include Nightwish. I'm sure it's nothing. Maybe I'm overanalyzing here, but we'll have to see how it plays out. I'm sure it won't come back again. But as of right now, yeah, I'm so far not that interested in what's happening right now. I will admit it's not played horribly. The guitar work from Ed Miller and Michael Heaney is still performed very well on the album thus far, especially with whoever performed that guitar solo halfway through. But overall, it's not the strongest start to the album, but I didn't want to give up on these guys just yet. After all, what good is a review if it's not thorough? So, what's next? Okay, I'm taking alpaca farm now. Robot, do one search on how to train alpacas to spit on things.
Would you like me to also search for how to breed them?
The more the merrier. Like, for real, was this entire song done on one take? That's my thought at the moment, because performance-wise, everyone was doing fine with the last song, but now with Corporeal Chains, the performance is on par with Suicide Silence 2017, and we do not need another one! This is also the most poorly produced and mixed song on the album thus far. The drums by Scott Eugene Jones in particular is giving me a lot of problems. Nothing to do with his performance, mind, he's actually doing a pretty good job here. It's more to do with how he's mixed. Like the cymbals! The cymbals! They're giving me a massive headache and a possible ear infection as well. They are way louder and more abrasive than they need to be, especially the fucking ride cymbal. Like, are you trying to piss me off, people? Because 3 songs in, and it feels like you're punishing me for hitting play. Things do begin to look upward though with the title track, which is my favorite song off of the album thus far, and one I can see myself coming back to from time to time. It's still roughly played, and sounds like a Rush performance as well, but it's still miles ahead of what we've experienced thus far. And I think in particular, this kind of Slipknot-inspired section is my favorite of the entire song.
Enemies meet banquet, we will conquer the divide. This is our day. Rally and fight. The fucking gun!
Same thing kind of goes for Borderline, though while it didn't sound bad and actually sounded quite tolerable, I was still bored while listening to that song. It felt more like it was filler than anything else. Oh, but there was a change up in the interlude section that really didn't need to be there. And it even had transitions in and out of that unnecessary fluff in a way that made it feel like it was added at the last minute because folk. Actually, come to think of it, I think this might be a good place to actually bring back one of the bigger issues I had earlier that I thought was a non-issue. The overblown guitars. Let's bring those back in for a moment because I'm realizing now that there's a problem here that the band hasn't caught up on yet. Folk metal and sludge metal are polar opposites. How so? Well, because it's hard to mix something that's supposed to feel like a fun adventure through the Force of Fangorn or the pristine kingdom of Rivendell with something that came right out of the fucking Black Gate. It doesn't help that these guys are trying to brute force the two into cooperating with each other. That's not how it works, guys. You can't take 2 opposing subgenres and be like, okay, now kiss. Songs like Corporeal Chains, Pennies for the Ferryman, and 13 Steps to Hell are prime examples of where this doesn't work. It also kind of does work in a way. We'll get to that in a second, but for now, the first 2, Corporeal Chains and Pennies for the Ferryman, are prime examples of the harsh and brunt sound of the sludge metal guitars clashing with the folk metal instrumentation and even the soft-spoken clean vocals. Now, don't get me wrong about the vocal performance here. Raina's voice is actually very nice and would probably work in a proper folk metal context, but her cleans have no power or dynamic to them, and so they don't work alongside those heavy guitars as a lead vocal. Think about it, those cleans would work better over an acoustic song, or something with less power in the instrumentation, not something that's so overblown it makes Warden sound like the fucking Wiggles. But granted, her growls and screams do work in this context, and this is something that 13 Steps to Hell proves strongly. While they're still trying to force the folk instruments to work with underproduction here, they, for the most part, actually drop the cleans and favor Raina's dirty voice here, which is something that makes the song work 10 times better than if they were to try doing the clean vocals over this part. But, so far I'm not happy. Like, I hit play on this album hoping for something that I would have fun with, but instead, at this point in the album, my brain is understimulated, aka I'm bored, I've actively been frustrated with the lack of consistency, and on top of that, the production made my fucking ears bleed. Like, how do you do this? But on the bright side, the mix has been inconsistent. That's not a good thing. But maybe that quirk will accidentally shit out a good song with the last 2 we've got, so does it? Oh my god. This song, it works so well!
Yes! About time! See, this, people, this is what I was talking about!
The clean vocals are performed where they'd be at their strongest and not overshadowed. In the opening to Discarded Hope, I feel like the folk instruments were mixing with the cleans in a way that made sense. They worked with each other and not against. But of course that section was meant to be folk. Once the dirty section comes back, I think Ed and Michael actually adjusted the guitars a bit more to work with the style. And the best part about that? They didn't compromise the heavy riffs to do so. They still have some heavy, sludgy guitar riffs like they promised, but they realized, hey, maybe we shouldn't make our guitars sound like they're being processed in a wood chipper. And it fucking worked! Also, when Reina does bring her cleans back about almost 2 minutes in, the guitars, they pull back, and they allow her voice to shine a bit more with the traditional folk instruments. This entire 9-minute song, while still kind of feels like they didn't really think it through or plan it out that well, is an example of what can happen when a combination of folk and sludge work together. It proves they can sound good together. Oh, and before I forget, by the way, that final track, the title says it all. It's fine. It's just a folk metal jam track. Nothing really too special about it. Nothing much to say really, except for, you know, cool. But that 9-minute track, it works so well for what they were trying to accomplish that I wish they did this for the rest of the album. Yeah, I think it's safe to say these guys are fully capable of producing something that works, if not needs a bit more work. So why did they not do this from the fucking beginning? Like, I can't stress enough how odd it is that they had Discarded Hope lying around and they were just kind of like, let's kind of half-ass it. It doesn't really matter. It's a full length and not an EP for one, so it's fine. Like, it blows my fucking mind. Like, why? Okay, this album has a lot of problems. Like, a lot. The main one really being that Siren's Reign wanted to have the best of both worlds. They wanted the heavy, dirty sound of a sludge metal record, but also wanted the ethereal atmosphere of a folk metal record. But you realistically can't get that and expect anything great. That's like getting an elf to fuck an orc. Sure, you could do it, but the resulting love child will cause even Tumblr to lose interest in making fanfiction writing altogether. Wait, that might actually be a good thing. Bad example. The point is that they don't work, especially if you aren't trying to make compromises to allow them to cooperate, to allow them to work in the same environment. And I doubt, as a result, either audience would be into this. Sludge metal audiences would have a hard time trying to adjust to their muddy waters having a lotus floating in the middle of the chaos, and folk metal fans would probably have the worst time being serenaded to the ethereal vocals and playful sound of a mandolin when the underproduction and abrasive tones is actively agitating them to the point of creating a bore pit in their living room. Which I did, and it was not fun. But if anything, I think the biggest problem can actually be summed up with Discarded Hope and even the title track. Wasted potential. Like I said, Siren's Reign knows how to write a song that can combine the two subgenres into something that both audiences, I feel like, would enjoy. Instead, they spent the first 35 minutes wasting it on songs that were rushed or were not thought out. This band has the potential to merge the two worlds into a beautifully chaotic masterpiece if they just took the fucking time. So, overall, while there are a couple of standouts on the album, Rise Forth as a whole is a mess of fun ideas and cool metal subgenres Frankenstein together into a sound that isn't cohesive, consistent, or even fun, and with which has zero direction from the very beginning. And in some cases, especially with that horrible drum mix and corporeal chains, it punishes for listening. And that is something that I couldn't get behind, which sucks, again, considering these guys can pull off something that is better than what this album became. If you ask me, the potential is there. They just have to achieve it. 7 out of 15, because I feel like that was the budget for the voiceover in the prologue. Alright, here's $15. We only have 7 minutes with you, but here's the script. Start now. Well, shit. 6 minutes, come on, we're on the clock.